My name is Adib Khan, and I've been working in the film Gentrified in the neighborhood Elmhurst. I've been filming a high school student from Stuyvesant High School who has been a longtime resident of Elmhurst, and I was able to get their experiences with gentrification and how it's affected their family.
Destiny?
Hi, my name is Destiny. My part in the film Gentrified, I interviewed my mom about her thoughts on how gentrification affected Astoria. So I did a lot of research and I took a lot of B-roll outside. I did a lot of traveling to get my footage and yeah.
Will you?
Uh, my part in Gentrified, I interviewed a employee at Oiwa Laundromat in Corona, and um, yeah, asked her about her opinions on gentrification in Corona and how it affects her and her business.
Sanjita?
My name is Sanjita Zaman. I interviewed my cousin who was a longtime resident in Jackson Heights, and we talked about how gentrification has impacted her and her family.
Gayung?
My name is Kayang Do, and I film my mom's and how her experience in Flushing's past 10 years, how she was able to work, and now it's how it's changed. I filmed that.
What did you, something you learned while making the film that you didn't know before? So whether that's about filmmaking or whether that's about gentrification, like something that,
Oh yes, definitely. I thought that it would be a lot easier filming because like when you see like a movie and like shots of like, I always at that, oh, I kind of can do that, but in real life, I actually went to that place and I tried to take a shot. It was pretty difficult. I was expecting this scene, but like in actual video, it's not really like things that like videos that I expected. So it kind of gave me some disappointment, but I honestly feel like this is like a good experience. I like learn a lot like about films and like editing and stuff, and it was really great.
yeah, I mean, I think that disappointment is like critical. Like learning about disappointment in filmmaking is kind of critical because that's what a lot of it is. And then that's how you get better, right? Because you don't want, like, you're like, I'm not going to go spend another 3 hours and have nothing to show for it. So you teach yourself like kind of how to make that not happen. But yeah,
Definitely.
it's harder than it looks. It's harder than it looks. Sanjita?
Yeah, I didn't know there were that many camera angles to take into account. So that was a new experience. And also like taking into consideration like the location and like the weather. That was also something. So yeah.
Traffic, props, like if you think of like even somebody holding a book, like that's a prop, that's a rubber prop, right? Because if it's pages, you can't hear over the mic would pick up all the paper. So like, what goes into every single aspect of a film is kind of crazy. Will you?
I learned a lot in terms of in terms of everything, because I was a photo student beforehand. So like other than like just like exposure and how to do all that, I didn't know anything. Um so I think one of the big things that I learned is that editing is not really my thing. And that sounds a bit negative, but I mean that might have
No.
like really messed me up in the future if like I thought maybe editing was my thing and then I like tried
I
it.
mean, though, you never know. Like, so when I did mostly producing, right, in my earlier years, some writing, some directing, but mostly producing. And then now I love editing. Like, but I only really picked it up and got into it maybe like during COVID. And then I was just, because I was stuck at home, I was like, oh, what can I do? Oh, well, let me do this thing that I've always hated having to do. Like I had to do it here and there, but I tried not to. And then now I love it. Like now I absolutely love it. And I love like figuring things out about it. So you never know what the future may bring, but right now that's not your thing. That's totally a good thing to figure out, actually.
Yeah, and also B-roll is a totally very confusing concept for me. While I was editing, I actually figured out that like my B-roll was sort of boring. not sort of boring. It was
Your
really
B-roll
boring.
was very beautiful. Like I could tell that you were a photographer, right? Like that to me, it was lovely.
Yeah, but they were also very still. Like I didn't really move my camera or like do
Right.
anything, and
Live
that
and
made
learn.
it hard. Yeah. Um, but it was a very big step into something I've never tried before, and so I learned a lot.
That's
Um,
very cool. Destiny.
Yeah, I was really surprised how much work went into making such a short clip, from storyboarding to setting up an interview and to actually filming. Yeah, that part really surprised me.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest surprise for everybody. And even like when I talk to schools who want to bring us in to do like workshops, and I'm like, dudes, like if you want a 5-minute film, I need 5 to 6 hours of filming time. And they're like, what? And they think I think they think I'm playing them, but it's like, no, I really need that much time. So yeah, it's always interesting. Adib?
Wait, so now this is where I talk about again. Okay.
You forgot. No. So the question was, is something you
Yes.
learned while making Gentrified, either about gentrification or about filming that surprised you?
All right. So one thing that actually surprised me about gentrification is actually like how big of an effect it can have on a community. Like I've been living in Elmhurst for so long now. I really haven't noticed it until this project really. And I realized that, hey, this neighborhood has a lot of history with immigrants and all these lower class families. And suddenly you start to see all these dynamic changes coming in with these luxury building projects that really are kicking out these and making it not affordable for these immigrant families to live. And if this continues, then these Elmers, as I know it today, might not exist 30 years from now, 50 years from now. And it's a problem that's just not only prevalent in Elmers, but it's also prevalent all throughout the city. And that's what this film project is really revealing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's kind of like punch buggy, like you don't see the Volkswagens till you start to play the game. Do you guys even do that anymore? It's kind of like your awareness of something, unless you look for it, sometimes isn't always prevalent. But once you've been made aware of it, now you see it everywhere, right? So my husband and I always look for like in Astoria, we always look at like the screen doors and the numbers on the buildings. And we were like, oh, gentrified, like, because, if they have those like raised numbers that are like off the side of the building. And if the screen door is all fancy, it's been bought by someone with money. It's just interesting, kind of like how